Welcome to Wild and Wise, where I dive into conversations with trailblazers in business, design, and creativity. Together, we'll uncover the wisdom and wild spirit behind their journeys, the stories, the struggles, and the sparks of inspiration that shape a curated life. Follow along on Instagram at WildXWisePod. Now let's dive into today's episode. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Wild and Wise. I'm your host, Alexandria Ott. I'm honored to be filming my final solo episode for the season. It's been an incredible season, and so much has happened this year. I have had a turn of events in almost every part of my life, including myself. So today's episode is going to talk about the changing definition of success as a business owner and really the alignment and parallels between working on yourself and the repercussions of that, both bad and good, that will happen in your business. I think if you look at anybody who has ever, say, committed to sobriety, the things that happen in their life and the success that they see is tenfold. And the same can be true about a commitment to oneself, to one's growth, maybe even just a commitment to coming back into our bodies, kind of like what we talked about with our guest earlier this season, Kelly. I think I've spent so much of my life disconnected from myself, disconnected from my body, and sort of functioning and running a business in another space and therefore not grounded. And so I just had this little quote that I had written down that I thought was so interesting that said, "You can't scale if you're disconnected from yourself." And that seems so obvious, but I think that oftentimes we live in a place where anxiety, depression can really be the driver of the bus. And I think for a lot of people who are either wildly intelligent or artistically creative, we don't ever really know who's driving the bus. And to be frank with you, my son's therapist, who's so lovely, always says, "Who's driving the bus? Is it kindness? Is it joy? Is it anger? Is it fear?" And even though she was talking to my son in that moment, I've taken that wisdom to often ask myself in moments of feeling disconnected or out of control, who's driving the bus right now and what is driving the bus? And I think I started my company at the age of 28. I'm now 39, so 11 years ago. And I have probably said this before on a podcast, but I had never had a panic attack until I started that company and I had the pressure of building a business from scratch with no business plan, few mentors, one in particular who helped me a lot. But, when you start a business, it will bring up every living, breathing, tragic entity that lives inside of you and become a mirror for the way that you function. Running a business will hold a mirror to everything you've never worked on, everything you need to work on, because it is a practice of patience, of perseverance, of a commitment to a belief in yourself. And it will quickly show you what you need to work on if you haven't already. So, some of my opening truths for this episode. Business ownership will often equal reinventing yourself over and over. It sounds obvious, but you're not just reinventing the business. You're not just moving the business and evolving the business into what is being demanded of the business. You're moving and evolving yourself of what the business is demanding of you. And that's really challenging when you also are in a relationship, or you are also a parent, or you also are serving your community. Your business will push you to and force you to reinvent yourself over and over, sometimes even when you don't want to. Another opening truth, that success is not static and it's not a destination. I think when I first started Chrome City, I had very clear goals that I wanted to achieve, and I would. And I think 10 years later, 11 years later, I don't necessarily have a specific goal in mind except to be creating in my most authentic and grounded self. And if you would have told me 10 years ago that that was my goal, I would have laughed, because my goal before was deep financial goals. I was obsessed with finding a target client, and making sure that I did everything in my power to make myself seen and known to them and make them like me and make them love me and make them think I was the greatest thing on earth. I needed that validation so deeply. And to me, I felt a sense of success when I was validated. And again, you evolve with the business as you evolve with age. A 28-year-old girl, young woman, needs validation. A 39-year-old woman hopefully has lived enough life to find validation within herself. And I proudly can say that that is the case today. I still certainly have moments where I need to be validated. I'm a human, but I've worked on better understanding that my goals are not going to be tied to validation. They're going to be tied to the security that I am in the right place with the right people at the right time. And if anything doesn't feel aligned with that, it has to go. What used to matter stops mattering. That's basically what I just described. What used to matter was making sure that I was at every hot spot with the coolest people. Now I just happen to be with the coolest people in the hottest spots, but that's not the goal. And most importantly, and something I'm going to talk about a lot in this episode, is that fear-based success over peace-based success are two wildly different things. I ran this business from a place of fear and scarcity for a good chunk of the business. And as a result, the business did not thrive. There was an emptiness and a feeling that was missing within the business to the point where I hated it. It's obviously scary to start a business. It's scary to put yourself out there. Fear is sort of part of what can propel you to work day and night, get this thing off the ground, go after people that clients that you don't think you could ever work with. I mean, fear was sort of the factor that pushed me. But I think we also have to really think about how far is that fear going and what is it robbing you of. For me, it robbed me of the ability to be in the present moment. Fear robbed me of the ability to appreciate the people that worked for me. Fear robbed me of being present in my body to serve my clients in a way that brought long-term success. I was living moment by moment, and fear does that. In a peace-based success model, I'm flowing, I'm in alignment, I'm beyond grateful for my team, and I find any chance I can to let them know, whether it's in person, a text, as we review their work. I want them to know how incredibly important and special they are. Peace-based success looks like knowing that you're going to be with clients for the long haul because you believe in their vision and you want to be part of it forever, and they can feel that. Peace-based success means leaving work and coming home to your family and not being stuck and thinking about every little detail of what you still need to do for work. It allows you to be present beyond just the work world. And that has brought me the most success I could imagine in my life. So let's take it back to the Chicago days. I started Chrome City in 2014. I had moved out to Chicago in 2011. And I was 25 years old when I moved out there. All I had was one suitcase. I had sold everything that I owned, and I was ready to see what I was made of. I wanted to start from scratch and see what was possible with my mind and with my imagination, this beautiful imagination that I've been cultivating since the day I was born. I was lucky enough to both be born with it and to have it nurtured in the home that I grew up in. And therefore, it gave me the cajones to believe in myself enough to go out there all by myself. Once I was out there, I worked in the nightclub industry, met a ton of people, and finally found myself in a position to start my own agency at the ripe old age of 28, so about 3 years into living in Chicago. And like I said, once I started it, there was a lot of fear. I think some of that was subsided by my sweet angel baby butterfly little brother, Anthony Ott, picking up the phone on a regular basis when I was feeling anxious and unsure of what to do with my business. And he really talked me through a lot of operational, logistics, love, anything I needed. And he made the bold move to come out and join me. And so in the heyday of Chrome City, Chicago days, there was just this smell. I can remember being in our West Loop loft office, the smell of espresso, a printer ink because we were sharing offices with two other big brands. And there was just this general feeling of aliveness. There's a specific moment that I remember that I felt like we had really made it. And James Geyer of 555 International, if you're in the design world, you know who he is. He's a legend. He had brought Chrome City on. I think we were one of the first PR firms that he really sort of allowed in. And to earn his trust felt like an incredible accomplishment. And he had built out in Fulton Market, which was sort of like the meatpacking district of Chicago, this incredible four-level event space called Morgan's on Fulton. And he wanted us to, of course, throw the launch party for the event space. And I also happened to be turning 30 years old. And I proposed to him that instead of throwing a launch party, I wanted people to be able to see the incredible way that each of the levels could be utilized. So I wanted to see if he would be so kind as to allow me to have my 30th birthday party there. And he did. And we really took over each space, each level, and had the most incredible human beings on earth there. Everyone from the biggest editors and publishers at every major publication to the most pioneering street artists, poets, designers, best friends, photographers, creatives, DJs, technologists, hospitality gurus. We really had the most amazing people there. And at the time, I think I really lived off of a combination of no sleep, cigarettes, and adrenaline. And I'm lucky to say that I get some good sleep now. I have adrenaline once in a while, and the cigarettes have been replaced by the good old vape. But again, I needed that validation. I needed to know that I had the coolest people in the room. I needed everyone to know that I brought those people there. And I think that I really have been taking this time over the last year to better understand why it is that I need that and what I'm trying to prove around that. Where does that come from, and where does that need for validation come? Of course, just a few months later, I found out that I was pregnant with my son, Henry, which was the surprise of a lifetime and the gift of a lifetime. But it really forced me to change my perspective. And I must say, I can't sit here and act like this wisdom that I currently hold of having a softer life, a life filled with a lot more peace, was not astronomically impacted by falling pregnant with my son. I know actually that I would not be here today looking at this camera in this position of peace had I not had the opportunity to become a mother. Not only did it pause the party life because I was pregnant, but it also, as a mother, forced me to go even further within than the business had pushed me to better understand how my traumas, how my life that I've lived was impacting him, and how I need to make adjustments in order for him to feel like it's soft and safe. And it's so interesting that running the business, the words soft and safe were sort of the antithesis of the way that I lived. Everything was hard. Everything was tough. Everything was gritty. It was cold. We were smoking. We were drinking. It was intense. And nothing was soft. Nothing was peaceful. Everything was chaotic, whether it was intense client relationships, deliverables, deadlines, the way that the office felt. It was tension filled and dark. And I have to say that 2016, in the peak moment where I felt like we had done it. I remember looking at my brother at that loft party, and I remember looking at the people in that room. And I think for a girl from Coronado who was raised in Southern California to move out to a mega city like that with nothing but a backpack, and to be, frankly, a nightclub hostess as my first job, to then look around the room and say, holy shit, I couldn't believe what we had built. And when I say we, I mean my brother and I. We had built something beautiful and strong. We had cultivated an incredible group of friends. We had given each other the confidence to take serious leaps and take incredible risks to build what we had built. And I couldn't have done it without him. And then came that baby. That baby shifted everything. It got me sober. It got me grounded. It got me aware that every single thing that I consume, every single thing that I watch, hear, see, feel is going to directly affect that which is growing in my body. And eventually, once he came into this beautiful world in 2017, I also had to continue to make the decisions of my life that would impact him for the better. One of those decisions was moving back to San Diego when he was just about 1.5, because I couldn't really fathom building a life for him in a place that had been so intense and so harsh and so chaotic. I needed to be in a place that was soft and loving and kind and sweet. And that is what I often tell friends San Diego feels like to me. San Diego feels like a soft landing pad. And it may not always be as exciting as LA or New York or Chicago, but that's why I travel to those cities, so I can get a nice little dose of the chaos, but I can always come back to the peace and comfort that San Diego provides me as a business person, as a mother, and as a woman. There are costs to that version of myself, that fear in running the business, that fear that if I stop, it all falls apart, that fear that made me a mean and sharp boss that didn't take other people's feelings into consideration, because I certainly had never even considered my own feelings. My feelings were fear, and fear was driving the bus. My body began to break down, and all of those years of intensity have come up even now. Even now, I'm seeing the way that time and the years preceding, even coming back to San Diego, there was still a lot of tough moments. And I've watched the way that the body keeps score, and that inherently impacts the way that I run my business, because even though I feel more soft and I feel like kindness and peace is driving the bus, you also can't avoid, if you're continuing to put yourself in chaotic situations, whether it's in your relationship, with your group of friends, with your family, or with your business, the way that the body keeps score. And you can't just shove those things down and continue to sort of act like it's all good. And it's interesting that the world was chaotic in Chicago and life felt softer in San Diego, but I still continued to attract a bit of chaos. And as I kind of pushed that down, I wanted to continue on with the soft life, but unfortunately that type of pushing down came out in my body in ways that sort of look like eczema and psoriasis, and something of an autoimmune that I've been slowly sort of working through. So I'm only saying this because you can walk away from chaos, but you have to continue to be diligent in making sure that it doesn't find you, because it is quite familiar. I also asked myself, who was I performing for? I said this in a previous podcast. Where is that need for validation? Does it come from childhood? Does it come from the bullying that I experienced in high school? Did it come from not really ever having a long-term strong partnership with a romantic relationship? Where does that need come from? And it's something that I'm really working through in my own self, because I think if I can work through personally not needing that type of validation, and I can sort of take that cloak off, then I think the world is my oyster as far as what is next for what I build. And that's really what I'm excited about. 2026, watch out. I will be building things that are at the core of my soul, things that I feel like our city needs, things that people are going to say I'm crazy for doing, things that people are going to judge and not understand. And I'm perfectly okay with that, because I've taken off the cloak of needing validation from everybody else, or of fitting into a box, or of sort of also the antithesis, always having to rebel, always having to prove everybody wrong, always having to show people how different I am. And I'm not ashamed of that. I think it's created the character that I've become. It's given me character. And I'm excited that this podcast is sort of watching me unfold all of the parts of myself that are reflected in my business, because the thing that I spend the most time on and with are my children and my business. And if you can see the look in my children's eye, which is one of joy, of happiness, of surrender, of softness, I've done a great job. And when you watch my business, where my team is thriving and we are growing and we are imagining and we have the freedom to dream big dreams, to me, it's a reflection of the work that I've done on myself, that is what the two things I spend the most time with and on look like. And I'm proud of that. So when I came back to San Diego to redefine my life, I think it looked a lot different. I remember living here and going to the beach and to the park and going to bed early, and then flying to Chicago, going out there for 5 days straight, and working from probably 5 or 6 in the morning until sometimes 2 or 3 in the morning. That meant waking up, flying in on a red eye, going straight to a coffee shop from the train, waiting for the hotel room to be available at 11, working from 5 in the morning to 11, checking into the hotel room, taking a quick shower, getting right back to back meetings that led into a happy hour, that led into needing to go to check out the latest DJ art installation or gallery, then going to check out the new cocktail bar, then trying to get new clients, then wooing that client with drinks, then going out with them afterwards because I wanted them to like me and I wanted to earn the business, only to fall back asleep at the hotel room and do it all over again. I would do that for 4 or 5 days straight, and then I would come home like a zombie, get a day to kind of rest and recoup, and then be right back to the soft life. And I did that for a very long time. I did that for about 2 years until God bless 2020. 2020 made that not possible. It made every client that was in the restaurant world say, sorry, we can't work with you anymore. It made flying not possible. And it allowed me a break in the chaotic life that I had been running on empty fumes for a very long time and somehow still going. I don't quite totally know how. Maybe it was the cigarettes and coffee, but it was a blessing to be able to sort of stop it all and really assess what it is that I wanted to build for the rest of my life. And I think I've been building a fresh life since 2020. And beautifully, in a turn of events, this year has also given me a completely new way to build my life, as I am single for the first time in 6 years. And I am living with myself and my children part-time. It has broken me open in the most beautiful ways. And I think right now is the softest that I've ever lived, even though I'm out all the time and I'm still obsessed with checking out the biggest galleries and who's doing what and working like a dog. It feels soft somehow, and it feels really, really nice. I think that my team is aligned. They are loyal. We are grounded. My business is built on integrity, not panic. There's a stillness, not a chaos, even though I'm busy doing things almost every single night, because that's sort of what makes me feel like I live in a big city and I'm alive, and that's just kind of how I function. It's not chaotic. It's really still. It's really beautiful. And in the moments, even last night, I just felt so lucky to be there and to find these little special moments with people that mean a lot to me. I remember moving back here like, how the hell am I ever going to build what I had in Chicago? And I have to say proudly that I've built so much more than I ever built in Chicago in this moment, because it is still, and it is peaceful, and it is beautiful, and it is robust. So, some practical examples of redefining success. I'm just going to list these out because these are real, tried, and true. We are firing clients that drain us. I remember a very proud moment in Chicago when we had our first Michelin client. It was a big deal to get this chef and restaurant on our client roster, and he was inappropriate with the young girls that worked for me. And once they told me, we were all together. There was about 10 girls working for me at the time. We were in a room together, and I knew that was a pivotal moment for me to prove what I stood for and how I told them that they deserved to be treated, and how I encouraged them to stand up for themselves in a patriarchal world. And I put the phone on speaker. I called him and I let him know that we would be firing him. And of course, his ego took the lead on the response to that, and they watched me manage that. And it was something that was hard, because I knew that if we had him as a client, we would get other Michelin chefs, we would get more money, recognition, opportunity. And I had to walk away from that first opportunity for that. And so I think this new definition of success is only working with people that feel aligned. And with that also comes the change of industry. For example, we were always only working with restaurateurs and designers, and we found ourselves in the world of wellness. We found ourselves in the world of luxury real estate clients. We found ourselves in sort of an array of worlds where we don't really care what the industry is, because we really mostly care about the way that we make our clients feel and the way that they make us feel and the fact that we're aligned. So firing clients that drain you and that aren't aligned is the first step in redefining success with your business. Number 2, charging what you're worth. listen, it's rough out there right now. We have played with this game. We have tried to go high and lost clients, but we can't go low. And so we found different ways to serve our clients in a range that work for their budgets in a world where tariffs are taking the lead, where everything is uncertain. And sometimes PR, marketing, social, and storytelling seems to be something that doesn't always pay the bills. And so we're fortunate that we work with people that absolutely understand the value of what we bring to their brand and are happy to pay for it because it gets them the results, recognition, and acknowledgement that they deserve. We work only with brands who value our creativity and that value creativity as a whole. I think at our core, we are a creative agency and we are a creative business made up of creative people, whether it's creative problem solving, creative design, creative copywriting, a creative imagination for them. I mean, we are here to be the biggest fans of our clients, what they do, and we are also there for when they don't believe in themselves. And I think that's such a big part of why people work with us is that we believe in them when they don't believe in themselves. We push the projects forward when they can't. And so working with creatives and people that value creativity is a must for us. Another practical example of redefining success is saying no when we need to. I don't really need to explain that much more. No is a sentence. No is the answer. Protecting our energy the way we protect our revenue, our happiness and success and the way that we work is completely reliant on our mental health. And we can't work well if we are not protecting our energy. And so just like the example of firing the Michelin chef, I will do anything and everything to make sure that the girls who work for me, their energy is protected. I check in with them on a regular basis. How is client feedback making them feel? Where do I need to step in? What is too much? Where are the boundaries? And it's hard because I have not always been somebody with great boundaries, and I'm almost doing it with them to teach and learn together. So I think that's also something is like, yes, I'm the leader. Yes, I'm the mentor, but also I'm learning too, and I'm learning with them. And it's really wonderful to be able to have that. We prioritize quality over scale. I think I have talked to a number of different people, whether it's people that I respect, people that are interested in, acquiring our business. And I've been lucky to have really big and deep conversations. But I think at the end of the day, the quality of our work and the passion for what we do isn't really something that we're interested in scaling to just to make money. I think that if the notion presents itself to scale our business in the right way, we will. But I think that we're feeling really good that quality is more important to us. Delivering quality work, having quality staff members, retaining quality clients is far more important than scaling to look big and to feel big. I don't need to feel big. Choosing long-term relationships over short-term money. We definitely, for a long time, were a turn and burn. And, every once in a while, it's fine to bring on a client and just do the opening. But if I could have the same 5 clients for the next 10 years and help them get to levels they never imagined they could reach, to me, that's what success looks like at the moment. I love cultivating relationships. I love watching our relationships grow. I feel so close to our clients. And in fact, some of them have become some of my closest friends. And the reason those friendships are so strong is that they respect the work that I do for them, but we also feel very deeply intertwined with each other's creative wisdom, with each other's creative freedom, the freedom to dream. And, I think sometimes I really have desired in my life to have friends that have a vision and purpose and momentum and drive. And I've found that in a lot of our clients, and I feel very grateful for that. There's also been some small rebellions. If you know me, I'm already always trying to be against the status quo, maybe to the point where it's obnoxious, and I'm trying to work on that. But, I always think like I have like a little fluffy, beautiful middle finger up to the world. And I think that harshness has softened tremendously. I think that harshness has softened for a number of reasons. I think one of those reasons is falling in love. And I think one of those reasons is having my son. But I also think another one of those reasons is having my daughter. It's very different having a son than having a daughter for anybody that's a parent. If you know, you know. But my daughter is really intense like me. And she really requires me to be soft with her. And I once had a psychic tell me that she had lived a lot of really hard lives in the past, and that in this life she chose me to make her soft and to give her a soft landing place, to which I laughed hysterically because I thought, if anybody was going to give her a soft place, how could it possibly be me? And in changing the way that I approached my mothering of her, which is now solely for the purpose of giving her a soft landing place, it has given me the opportunity to be soft with myself. And when I'm soft with myself, I'm able to be slow when I make decisions for the business, because having a soft landing place for yourself as a business owner allows you to have greater perspective, to find more alignment, to slow down, and to make sure you're making the right decision. So I think that's one of the greatest gifts my business has received from my evolution as a business owner, is that softness. And that rebellion that I feel. There's things that I've done, like I've stopped bleaching my hair. We're letting those grays just shine. They're silver, silver shining lights. I've stopped doing a lot of things that I think I was doing in the feeling of performance. And I've been having a lot of conversations with a certain friend, actually, where he's really working through why he feels like he's always had to perform. And that's a whole different episode. But I really feel like I didn't realize how much I had been performing. And I really feel like I'm in this really beautiful place where I'm not performing. I'm really just back to the basics and back to the core and back to the child inside. And that is why I think our business feels so authentic, and that our business feels so in alignment. And I'm sorry to overuse the word alignment, but alignment means you are where you need to be with the people you need to be with in the right place at the right time. And isn't that what we're all seeking? The comfort of knowing that you're at the right place with the right people at the right time. To me, that is truly what success looks like right now. And none of that is possible if you're not in touch with who you are. You're not back to your core. You're not performing. You're not doing it for somebody else. You're not doing it for the recognition. You're simply doing it because it's what is right for you right now. So, we've talked a lot about what success used to look like. We've also talked about what success looks like now. And I love this conversation because we've all been through, I'm sure, every part of what I've talked about. I don't think there's one person that sort of just comes up in the world just truly and authentically themselves. We become so many other people. And I love that part of life. I love that I've become, even in this last year, maybe 5 different versions of myself. And that is why business ownership and entrepreneurship is so special, because you get to have the business sometimes, if you're in a creative field like I am, reflect the ways that you're changing your view of the world. And I am so lucky that I get to put that into the business, or I get to come up with a new side project that is reflective of that. And I get to do that because it's a reflection of the way I'm growing and how I'm seeing the world. And I just have to say what a beautiful opportunity that is for us business owners and entrepreneurs, specifically in the creative world, that as we grow and as we evolve and as we shed layers and as we unlearn, we get to build brands and businesses around that learning. So now, peace over performance, oxygen over adrenaline, clients who trust us, time with my kids, a team that feels so aligned, running a company without abandoning myself, longevity over burnout, silence without panic. What most entrepreneurs don't hear is that your definition of success will change. How you start the business and how you think it's going to go is never how it really goes, and that's okay. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to fire your best client. It's okay to lose money. It's okay to change your mind, because your definition of success will change with the human you become through the failures and the trials and the errors of running a business, and that is a beautiful gift. Let it evolve. Failure isn't really a failure if you allow it to be an evolution. Again, sometimes I think I'm saying something so obvious, but for anybody who's just starting a business, there really is no definition of failure except to not let things happen the way they're supposed to happen, and to see each sort of failure, quote unquote, as an opportunity to evolve. Who you need to be in year 1 is never who you're going to need for yourself in year 10. The woman that I needed at year 1 was a excuse my language, a fucking dog. I was frothing at the mouth for success. I wasn't going to stop. I worked until 4 a.m. I got no sleep. I was so unhealthy. And I needed to sort of be that to get that thing off the ground. I lived in a city that was tough, and it wasn't going to get off the ground unless I was that person. The person that my business needs today is clear-headed, is certain, is confident, is a leader, is soft, is intense. I can be all of those things, and that is what the business needs today. Growth requires self-awareness. We cannot grow this business if I'm not aware of how we can be better, how I can be better, how I am triggered, what my girls need, what my clients need. If I am not aware of what's happening, I cannot grow this business, and that starts with the self. And of course, what most entrepreneurs don't hear is that you cannot grow if you are disconnected from yourself. And that's how I started this podcast. The disconnection from yourself and coming back to yourself is sort of the only answer to really keep things going. And so as I start to wrap this up, I just want to implore you to really understand and ask yourself, who is driving the bus right now in those moments where everything feels like it's falling apart, or you've sent out 5, 6, 7 proposals and the answer was no, 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 and no. Come back to yourself. What do you need? What does the world need from you? And how can you be of service to both yourself, your clients, and the world in the work that you do? You cannot pour from an empty cup. And I know, again, this is an obvious thing to say, but it is so wildly important that if you want to have long-term success, that you are truly in your body, taking care of your mind, and that you are self-aware of what your needs are, that your cup is full, and that you're not disconnected from yourself. It is so easy in this world to be disconnected. Even if I'm not out till all hours of the morning, I'm certainly scrolling a lot. I am certainly trying to find different ways to keep my time and mind busy. But my greatest accomplishments and my greatest ideas come from the silence, from the softness, and from coming back to myself. So, questions for you. What is the definition of success that you are holding on to that no longer fits? Sometimes holding on so tight to an idea that is clearly, the universe is clearly telling us that that is not the direction it wants. All it requires is releasing that grasp to listen and hear what's next. Another question for you. Who are you trying to impress? Who are you doing it for? Is it your ex that's watching you online? Is it the friend that told you that you would never become what you hope you become? Is it the parent that never believed in you or gave you the love that you were needing? I have asked myself all of these questions, and the answer can only be, I'm only trying to impress myself. And at the ripe old age of 39, I'm still working on this, but you know what? I am impressed with myself and I'm proud of myself, and that is the only person I have to report to. The other question, where are you abandoning yourself in your business? This is a tricky, tricky one because I'm reading this book right now, and Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, Love, has written this just mind fuck of a truth of a book that I'm reading right now called All the Way to the River. And she talks a lot about the way we distract ourselves from grief specifically. And one of those is work and throwing herself into writing a book. And when I heard her speak, I just thought, holy shit. When times get hard, what do? I get on my computer and I work until I'm so tired that I go to sleep. So I'm working on this myself, that we cannot abandon our inner needs with workaholism and distractions, but also our business cannot grow for abandoning ourselves. So I implore you to join me on the journey of wondering where I'm abandoning myself in my business. And last but not least, what would peace-based success look like in a world that is capitalistic, in a world that is patriarchal, in a world that is moving at speeds unimaginable to our mind, body, and soul? Where can we slow down to find our truth? Where can we slow down to find alignment? And what can we do to find a success that feels peaceful? That's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Wild and Wise. I hope that you share this episode, that you find yourself in some of these moments that I've shared, and I appreciate you listening.